Hello, my people. Today I'm making a very short video and I'm just going to show you how to use the scuba uh, material to make this simple uh, roses that you just saw now. So you can make it to any size. So it means you can use any size, but the size I'm using now is 2.5 the width, and then the length is 31 inches. So I'm using 2.5 for the width, that is otherwise known as height, and then the length is 31 inches. Hmm? So you can cut out any pattern, but we are going to be cutting out triangular patterns for this one. We're going to be cutting out triangular patterns. So you start by ruling out the measurement you want, and then you go ahead and mark your distance. You don't want to do any blind measurement, as in just measuring without proper either measuring tape or ruler. So you need to mark out your distance. So the distance I marked out for this particular one is 1.5 inches. Again, the distance I marked out is 1.5 inches. So I just kept uh marking 1.5 until I get to the end of the line. Hmm? So after marking the 1.5, I'll go ahead and begin to create a small triangle. I'll begin to create small sizes of triangles. So you can do that using a short ruler, like the normal ruler for school, the normal school ruler, or you can just use your free hand. You can see that for me, I'm just working with my free hand. I did not use ruler. But if you know that you cannot work with your free hand and get the shape out properly, then I will advise that you use a ruler to rule through. So this is step two. The third step will be that we'll be using the zigzag scissors. Zigzag scissors, that's the only scissors that we cut it out with patterns. So it's a zigzag scissors. Normally it cut and then you see the teeth on it. It's not like you cannot work with a smooth scissors. You can, especially if you do not have the zigzag scissors, then you can work with the smooth scissors. So but for me, to add to the design, I chose to work with the zigzag scissors. So what I'm doing is cutting out the pattern, but you have to ensure that you are not getting to the line that is just close to the line. You make sure that is where you terminate your scissors. So you are not separating it. So after cutting it out like this, the next thing we'll do will be to cut out the pattern. And to do that, you will do that using at least half an inch distance to cut it out. So when we do that, this is what we are going to have. So the next thing I'll do is that I'm going to stone all the edges. So I will be using fabric stone. I'll be using fabric stone because it's the small size of fabric stone that I used. I used my pencil to pick it up, because if you try to pick it up with your hands, it might be somehow difficult for you to pick up and then place it on the glue, but it's going to be easier when you work with the pencil. So I started by applying the E7000 glue on the edges of the triangle, and then I used my pencil to pick up the stones and then begin to place it on it. You can finish making the pattern and then you place the stones, but the easiest way is to place the stones before making the pattern. So That's what I am showing you, but it's not wrong if you are done with the pattern and then you choose to attach your stones. You choose to, I mean, place your stones on it. All right. Okay, so that's just it. I'll just place my stones carefully and ensuring that it's resting on the very, very edge of it, because that's where the beauty is. I'm not placing the stone all over the body, but just on the edges. All right. So once I am done with this step, I will cut this triangle pattern into two equal parts. All right, and then I will place them together before I use loose stitches to pull it together. Now this is one thing: when I place them together, I made sure that they were not equal before I used my loose stitches to pull it together. But you can save yourself the stress of doing that by cutting two different sizes. So like the height of this particular one is 2.5, so you can cut the 2.5 and then you go ahead to cut 1.5. So 1 inch less than the first one. So with that, you have the patterns not being equal. You can see how I placed it now. So they are not equal. So it's going to help me by the time I'm done pulling it together and shaping it. You will see that we have triangle resting on another triangle. But it's very easy if you can just like make two different sizes and place together. So one, the height can be 2.5, and then the second one, the height can be 1.5, so that by the time you place it together you have different the distance is very easy, and you will not need to start pulling it backward the way I did in this particular tutorials now. Okay, so this is it. The next thing I would do is that I'll pull it together closely, but I'm going to allow it to be a little bit free so that I can easily bend or fold it to meet each other. Then I will apply the hot glue, or I can use the needle and thread to tack it. But for this particular one, I would be attaching it using the hot glue. All right. Okay. So after that, I'll add some embellishment to it, and that will be all. Then we're now going to talk about what we can make with these things. We can create this for the purpose of fascinators. You can create it for the purpose of your headband, and then you can also make it for the purpose of turban. I find out that nowadays the roses in the market, they are so expensive that, if you go about buying for every work that you are going to do, you end up spending more. So sometimes it's very important that we learn how to create our own pattern of roses or designs that can help us to bring out our work without having to go to the market to buy. Me, sometimes because of the nature of this business and how busy I can be, I find it very difficult to get up from my sewing machine and go start going to the market and going through all those stress and wasting all of those time. So I always like to create one or two different type of roses for myself. All right, so I'm using this particular pattern now to design the headband.